Do you want to have more time freedom, recurring revenues, and a chance to have a bigger impact in the world? If you'd like to look at leveraging your skills and your expertise so that you can have reoccurring revenues, so that you can expand your capacities and your reach, if that's something that you want, well, sit back and get ready to grow your business. We're going to be talking in this session about how to leverage your capacities in a second level with my best friend, great friend, Jane Deuber. She is here to share with you her wisdom on courses, and not just courses from a funnel standpoint, but courses that can change your life and change millions of people's life. So Jane, welcome to the program.
Yay, thank you so much, Cynthia. Good to be here. I love your energy. I can't wait to share.
Awesome. So a little bit about Jane. She has been an entrepreneur for over 3 decades, and she has built not just one, not just two, but over 7 very highly successful companies during that time. So she knows a little bit about what it takes to build and grow a company. And she also knows how to keep it sustainable. So she's going to go over some of those things. One of the things that she's brilliant at, one of her companies, is teaching entrepreneurs how to take their expertise and their genius and then turn it into a course. And I don't mean just a small course, but I mean like a legacy course, a course that provides you recurring revenue. So Jane, I'd love to have you share with the audience why you think that's such a great idea, and kind of who would be a great fit for that.
I love the fact that you said legacy program or course. So hands down, here's the deal. Entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. We all know this. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things, especially now with technology. There's so many things that we need to be managing and looking at. And so when we really want to look at our business, we want to look at it from the perspective of how do I impact the greatest change? How do I reach as many people as possible with my program? And how do I do that in a way that I'm profitable and I also have, the freedom that I want? And I got to be honest with you, there's a lot of strategies out there, as you know, Cynthia. There's a lot of strategies right now that are having people spin their wheels, but not having the impact they want. So why I'm a huge proponent of creating a course, delivering a program online, not just something that you're using in your funnel, but something that you're using to actually carry on the legacy and to create a 6, 7, and 8-figure business. I mean, that's really what our model is all about. And why it's important to me. So, do you want me to go into the little story of how this all came about?
Sure.
Okay, yeah. So it was interesting. I think it was like the 3rd business that we had. We had an association that was serving members in over 20 countries. We had started for women who have a home-based business. And Lord, we were traveling. I was on the road all the time. And I had this one, how you have those moments, those aha moments where that you're on the precipice of something different. And yeah, I was in Chicago, actually. And I had just done a leadership retreat. It was a 2-day leadership program. They were thrilled. They were super happy with the results. And I remember pushing the button in the elevator like it was yesterday. And I remember I was like, why do I feel like not so great? Like, what's missing here?
Right.
Two things came to me that day. And I remember laying my one more hotel room. I think I had to go to another city the day after. And I had my son and my husband back home in Pebble Beach, and I really wanted to be with them. And I remember laying my head on the pillow and saying, okay, if I really want to bring my work to the world, I've got to find an easier way for me to do this. Because while I love traveling, another airplane, another hotel,
right.
Do it. That was the first thing, is I knew I needed a different way. The second thing is I knew that no matter how hyped out and happy my clients were, tons of transformation that day, I knew that for them to really have the change and the transformation in their life and business that they were, given a glimpse of in that 2-day period, I knew that no matter how good I am, I can't impact the kind of change in a 1 or 2-day session. So for those who are doing live events, I love live events, don't get me wrong. But what we know is for changing beliefs, behaviors, how a person shows up, it takes a while. And so it was that day that I made a decision, like, I've got to find a way to create an online program that delivers just what I did in these 2 days in a leveraged fashion, allows people to really grow as they go. So that was sort of the impetus of where I said, okay, this has got to change, which I'm hoping a lot of the people are saying around their own business is, something has to change.
Yeah, and you hit upon some really key points there in telling us your background story. Is that you had a business that was already going well, and you enjoyed it, but you were getting pulled by a lot of travel, and then you realize that there's only so much time that you can trade for money.
Yeah.
And there are only so many people that you can impact with that. So I love that you had that revelation, because I know a lot of people watching this, speakers and entrepreneurs who want to use speaking as a way of getting connected with people. If all you do is speak and you get paid for keynotes, it's really difficult to have a sustainable business program. So that's one of the reasons that I wanted to invite you on here, so you can start to share with us how to be able to scale, but scale in a way that is like you said, the next level, not just the first level, but move on to that next level. So why would an entrepreneur, and at what stage in their business might they choose to go to this depth of putting on a course?
Yeah, so thank you for this. And there's a part of me that wants to pull in everybody who's watching, because what I do know about telesummits is we attract all different levels of businesses. And so while, the model that I'm talking about, we call it, it's a six figures in 6 months, where we can create 6 figures in virtual revenues in 6 months. Well, that's typically for I would call it a more established entrepreneur. I do want to say, Cynthia, that I also want to bring in the others, because even if you're early on in your work, let's say that you've been doing something intuitively, maybe you've been paid to do it for someone else, and now you're starting a business, the most important thing for you is to really get clear about your signature process.
Mm-hmm.
How do we take your expertise, your genius, your experience, what you do intuitively with clients? You've got to map it out. And you've got to map it out, not just in, I've been in a part of programs where they give you sticky notes, and 5 Post-it notes with 5 steps on it, and they say, oh, you're there. Signature
good.
Process.
So good. Go out and sell it now.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm on a mission, like this, Cynthia. Like, my mission is to really raise the bar in the industry. And what that means is I'm going to call every single person to really understand what it means to say, I'm going to take you on this journey. And so on the leveraging strategy, there's ways for us to do like the higher level leveraging strategy, like certification or train the trainer, those licensing. We do a lot of licensing of people's content. Those are all things that I'm going to kind of see, because if that's like, oh, wow, that's what I'm looking for, then definitely we want to find some way to connect. But I want to bring everybody else in and say that here's what happens when you make a promise in your marketing, which is, selling a coaching program. It could just say, it's a 10-week program, a 3-month program. You make a promise to deliver transformation. I got to tell you, it's your responsibility to figure out how you can, at your very best, out of intuition, on top of the intuition, how do you move a person from where they are to where they want to be? And so we have a program called Pathway to Profitable Programs, which basically takes like the fundamentals of curriculum design, and it teaches a person who is just intuitively delivering transformation, Cynthia. It teaches them how to unpack that. What needs to happen in every single step of the process? What beliefs need to change? What behaviors do they need to shift? What skills do they need to develop? And once, I got to tell you, I can take a person who's brand new into coaching, they've just started their business, and you put that into their hands, and it allows them to all of a sudden see, okay, this is how I do what I do, which is huge, because most people don't. They're kind of in that unconscious competence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where a lot of people start, because, the folks that I work with are often saying, Dr. Cynthia, how can I have stage authority when I'm not even completely sure what my process is, because they don't have clarity on that. So it's very difficult to go out and speak about that if you don't have that process. So if I'm understanding you correctly, Jane, not only is this for people who have an established business, who then can do that 6 figures in 6 months type of an approach and program, but people who are just starting, and they need to get clarity and codify in their own mind what their process is, so that they can then get real results. And then when they get those results, then probably sales is going to be way easier for them, and they've got an asset.
Yeah, it's so funny that you mentioned that, because it was actually the biggest surprise, Cynthia. We're kind of going down a little different path, but I love this, because I think that I'm intuiting that there's a lot of people on listening to the summit who are really They're looking for the next evolution of the business. They're looking to that next step. And so the biggest surprise for me, we launched this program, which is about curriculum design. It's like, how do you take your expertise that you've been delivering through one-on-one coaching, and how do you move from the one-on-one to the one-to-many, right? In order to do that, you've got to be conscious about how you do what you do. And the biggest surprise actually was the way that they completely transformed their experience of marketing. And it's what you said. So whether you're on a stage or whether you're writing an email or whether you're crafting a webinar, what I know, we also teach sales, and what I know is when you're in the sales conversation, when you're marketing conversation, there's a little voice behind, that is basically saying, I don't know, Jane, can you really deliver on that? That's a big promise. Can you really deliver? What if they take you up on your offer, right? So the biggest blessing and surprise for us was when we took that first group through, it wasn't just that they were more clear about their process and they now knew what to include in their coaching program or their online course, but all of a sudden they showed up differently in the sales conversation. The client comes at one-on-one conversation, they're having this challenge. You show up two different ways. One is, I think I can deliver on that. And the other way is, oh man, like I've got this deal. I've got it nailed. I've got it dialed in, and I have this process, and let me share with you where in the process we're going to deal with that particular challenge that you're having. Yeah. That's powerful.
I love that, Jane. I think that is really powerful because I'm a big proponent of courses. I'm a big proponent of learning. I think learning is that content, that valuable process that you take people through, and proprietary process has been life-changing for me in my office, and also as well as the consulting. So I love that. But one of the things that when I tell people that they need to do a course, they're like, I don't even know what I would say. First of all, I don't even know what I would say, which you kind of addressed, because it sounds like you kind of get that within the process. But I don't even know how I would deliver it. Like it's just overwhelming. Where does this live, and how do I get the videos? And it's just like creating it seems so overwhelming. So, what are some blocks that people have around both the technology and the curriculum creation?
Yeah. So I'll speak to the technology in a second, but I want to address what you first said. It's like, I don't even know what I would deliver. Like that is literally one of the first things that we hear. And a little, exercise for your people to take, like right now, one of my favorite things to do is for you to take in your own, like in your mind, like think of a client that you have that you absolutely love. This is for those who are more established. And imagine that you took them through a process for maybe 6 months, sometimes it's maybe 3 months. But I want you to think about what we call the arc of transformation. Mm-hmm. What that means is there's a beginning and an intermediate and an advanced level of work. And so when we talk about what do I deliver, what's interesting is that most people, Cynthia, go to what I would call their intermediate or advanced content. And what makes this so cool is that your first course that you right out of the gate you would want to play with is actually your beginner content. And what I find is in talking with people, that people have some resistance to taking an online program or creating one, is that they're thinking that it's too much more involved, or it involves more than they might want to take on. But the reality is your first course is really your beginner course.
Right. Okay.
That is, sometimes because we're all in our intermediate and advanced, because that's usually what we're doing. But the beginning course is actually really simple. And there's an anatomy of a beginner course, whether you're in health and wellness or relationship or business growth or leadership. It doesn't really matter what the nature of what you're teaching. There is an anatomy of that initial course that will walk a person from being fairly new to the topic to be able to move them through that first stage. So that's what I want to say is just relax, because it's easier than you think. And the content that you're going to be providing is actually more fundamental, and it's something that you live and breathe already, that it's just a matter of having a venue to bring it out.
Jane, you just mentioned something that I think, like, that is just so much brilliance, because it's true. Like when we contemplate creating a course, we're thinking like, okay, I need to give you all the nuance, and I need to go deep to make it value, and I want to give you more and more and more. And the beginning stuff that you just described, I think sometimes as I'm hearing you speak, it's so much about what we already do that we know that, like the water the fish is swimming in, we don't even think of it. Like, you mean you don't know that? Yeah. Like, who would want to go to a course for that? Because so obvious.
Yeah, so we call it the gateway course. In the gateway course, you want to cast a big net. We've got some really cool things around that. But, I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make around course creation is, well, a couple, not one, couple. They put too much information in.
Yeah.
We overwhelm the client. We want to give them easy steps. We want to make sure we're measuring the process and all that stuff that we do. The other thing I will say, the mistake is that we assume that the value of our course is determined by the volume of content.
You mean it's not?
Like here's the craziness.
Right.
Here's the crazy. This day and age, you know this, I know. This day and age, the reality is time is the most precious asset that we all have. And so if you can deliver on your promise, if you can deliver value, if you can shift beliefs and behaviors, build skills, if you can do that in a short period of time,
yeah,
your course is actually more valuable than somebody else who has 16 million modules. No, they want it to be simple. They want it to be effective. And so that's why we teach people how to create curriculum that delivers on the promise, that's super succinct, and does it in a fashion where everybody can consume it in a reasonable amount of time. That's what we do.
I love that. So an analogy that I'm hearing is that, sometimes people want to write a book that's like their whole life story, like it's an epic novel. And then there are other times where they just might want to like do a compilation of the stories or experiences. So one thing is like your big legacy course for the people who have six figures already and they want to go do that 6 months to six figures, and it's a certification program. That's one course. But then there's this other, like, okay, let's get started with a quality course that actually can take people and move them into a transformation, not too much information. Yeah. So I love that distinction.
Yeah, it's all about shifting beliefs, behaviors, and skills. Like that's our mantra. So yes, definitely we can do that. And sometimes even that initial course can be licensed and certified and all that kind of stuff. So it's a bigger conversation about curriculum, but yes.
Nice.
And the other thing that keeps people like from moving forward, and that's the technology. And I have to say, like, I so get this. So that moment when I was in the elevator and I put my head on the pillow, one of the challenges was like, okay, how do I do this? Mm-hmm. I went out and looked for learning management software, which back then, this was 13 years ago, so not a whole lot available. So I, of course, went to my husband who owned a programming firm. And what I did, Cynthia, is I said, honey, this is my vision. I want to create an online experience that reproduces as close as I can, me being right there with them every step of the way. So what's unique about what we do, so we have one of my companies, what we do is have an e-learning platform. So it's a done for you. Our clients, the people we work with, Cynthia, kind of like you, they know that they want to stay in their zone of genius. And for most people listening, technology is not their zone of genius. That's why they're on this whole summit. And so the whole model is designed for done for you. We walk the process through. You're assigned a content manager. We actually build out and brand the entire academy. We're supporting them in the content. So it's really, if you go back, if we were to, me, and our whole company is founded on 4 principles. And one of those principles is exponential empowerment. And so what that means is when we can take a person who we know has an amazing message, a life's work, and if we can take their message and put it into a venue where they can deliver it to people, not just throughout the country, but all over the world,
right,
and have those individuals experience what they would normally experience as best we can, one-on-one, that's where we're living at our mission. And so that's why we created this Done For You technology, where basically it's a plug and play, filling out templates and things like that to create your course that you can take to the world.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let me ask you this. I'm imagining that part of the journey was that you used other programs. So I know that there's other programs like Kajabi or Thinkific or Facebook. How would you compare those? Let's say somebody's not quite ready, and then when they're ready to take that step to using your system. So how would they go along that process of evaluating those different technologies?
Yeah, there's some value in what we call one of our clients said that, that's a parking space for your content, versus what they said, what you have is an ATM machine, which I thought that was awesome, because the difference is, in some of these other LMS, it's basically you're just putting your content there, it's housed somewhere, but it's not creating the user experience that you want. It's not, there's no accountability, there's no tracking. there's no sense of nudging people when they fall behind. So I would say the user experience is probably the biggest difference. And it's really, honestly, we have a lot of people who are fairly new that use our process. We actually have a migration service where we bring it from another platform into ours. So I would say, for me, what I always ask is, where do you want to be 3, 5, and 10 years down the road? Because through our migration service, it's usually taking someone out of, excuse me, something like Kajabi or Thinkific or something like that, taking them out of there and putting it into ours, because we can scale. There's a way for us to scale, whether it's if you're in the corporate world and you're wanting to deliver one course to multiple companies and you needed to be able to navigate that, whether it's somebody who has a vision of a certification program or a trainer, we're able to create that. Whether you want to create an academy that has multiple faculty, like, you need to pick now the framework and the platform that's going to scale with you, because moving something is a mess. I can tell you. So why not now? It's actually, in so many ways, our process is more affordable in the long run, because what we've done studies of how much time and effort people spend on putting their content into an LMS, Cynthia. And I got to tell you, sometimes people come in at prices that are, 3, 4, 5 times what they spent either with an admin or their own time, versus just letting someone who does it really quickly and easily and expertly. So I got, I would just say, take the lid off of a belief that, that I'm going to move into something like where we consider ourselves the Tesla of online delivery, is often what somebody calls us. But if you, don't make the assumption, because if you're looking to put something online, you've got to make sure that, number one, the content is stellar, and number two, the user experience creates that same experience that you would want to create for them.
Yeah, and so that they get the results. And when they get the results, then they're happy raving clients. And then happy raving clients refer other happy raving clients, and then they stay clients, right? So it sounds like in the end, it actually pays for itself.
Well, here's a statistic. In the general e-learning world, like right now, we know that by the year 2025, the e-learning industry is a $325 billion industry. Contrast that to $50 billion for coaching is projected. So that's 8 times more possibly for e-learning. But the challenge is that less than 10% of the people are making it to the end of a course.
Yeah, that's what I hear. That's
less than 10%. Yeah. So 90% of the people who come are not getting what they wanted. And so in our world, I would say across the board, we're about 70 to 80% completion. And the reason is number one, the content is designed beautifully with the needs in mind and the user experience. So I don't know, if you're looking to have a sustainable business that has legs and can go on for years and years, why not start off with a model that serves your first 12 clients the same it's going to serve thousands down the road.
Right. Yeah, I love that. And so that kind of answers the question, like which entrepreneur would this be useful for? So how do you see this fitting into an overall business strategy and
Great
growth?
Question. Yeah, there's some people that come to us that have like a simple course. They want to sell it for a couple $100 and they just need a place to park it. And that's not our client. Mm-hmm. Our client is someone who's looking to take their unique signature process that they've been using one-on-one. They're ready to move to the one-to-many model, and they want to do it right the first time. Sometimes we get people right out of corporate who are saying, okay, I'm going to start my own consulting company. So it's someone who really has a longer-term vision, who wants to create a user experience where you get high completion, raving fan clients, great statistics, and then you can continue to build upon that. Is that
right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So somebody's decided, they look at the strategy, they know that this is something that for themselves, both for the short term to get the business, but also like you talked about that legacy to be able to have this ongoing recurring revenue. So what are the first steps that they would take along this process?
Well, okay, so to be honest, the first step is to get the gift that I'm giving your people, because, for me to detail that. So the first step is to decide what it is you're going to offer. Right. I will say, in the expert's guide that we're going to give to your people, it not only gives you the steps, literally I'm giving you the whole process of that one needs to go through. And you're going to see a couple things. You're going to see some insights on what to use, and, how do you decide what that first course is? You're also going to see something around what we call the inner circle launch. And if I can use this platform a little bit to get on my soapbox, I'm a huge proponent against what's called the beta launch.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people out in the industry who, in the course creation area, and I just got to say, they are big proponents of the beta launch, which is put something out there, don't charge very much, and ask for people's advice.
Right.
I don't know about you, but that's not a formula for positioning yourself as an expert. So we have a process called the Inner Circle launch. We give you some insights around that in the guide. And the Inner Circle launch is really about designing it right the first place, by getting some insight about how to design the module content, but actually finding a select group of a small group. It could be anywhere between 8 and 12 people who are highly invested and that they get personal work with you. And I got to tell you, the Inner Circle launch, by taking a small group through, you get high completion, you get these amazing raving fan case studies that you can use in your marketing going forward, and you're profitable right out of the gate. Like most people are in about the 30,000 range on their initial Inner Circle launch if they follow the model. And so, yeah, I would say, the first step is to decide what it is that you want to offer, but very, very important is what model are you using, because if you're going the beta route and you're charging very little and you're asking for advice, you just killed your opportunity, your number one first impression opportunity to really establish yourself as an expert with a stellar program. So that's what we love to do.
I love that. So it's not the context of what we typically think of as beta, because usually beta really actually translates to free.
Yeah. And experimenting. And no one really wants to be in an experiment. They're going to take their time. Right now, if time is the most precious asset,
right,
I want to know that you're in the game and they're going to get what they came for. So yeah, all sorts of things around the beta launch and how I feel that it's been a detriment. And if you've done that, no shame, no harm. There's a way to course correct that by repositioning yourself and by delivering a course right from the get-go that's beautifully designed and delivers on its promise.
So I love that. So it sounds like if we were talking about some of the mistakes that entrepreneurs make when they're starting to go down this path, doing that kind of a beta certainly would be one of them. What other mistakes do entrepreneurs typically make?
With regards to course creation, I would say that delivering too much and understanding curriculum design. If you think about it, designing a course, you're taking a person step by step through a process of evolution. Where they are to where they want to go. And there's a psychological process that they have to go through. They're having to reform new beliefs and letting go of old ones. Understanding basic skills for them to do what it is you're asking them to do.
Right.
And so to understand that it's an incremental journey, you've got to understand what that individual needs at each stage. And so I would say that's a mistake, is sort of a brain dump, and we're coming at it from our perspective versus the client's perspective. And I think another mistake that people make is just not doing it.
Right.
Gosh, I will say, I've had the privilege of done 34 courses of my own, but I've had the privilege of creating hundreds of courses for my clients, and it's in every walk of life. A couple of our most successful are realms that you would never imagine. Dressage. One of our clients, Kara Rolfe, she teaches people all over the world how to have a better relationship with their horse. It's a multi-million-dollar virtual business, just her virtual revenues, multi-million-dollar certification in multiple languages. Had she not, at the very, when we first met years ago, had she not said, why not me, right? If she had not quieted the doubt and said, I can't put this online, it's about horses, right? Never would she have been able to impact the change, or my current client, Dr. Walls, who one of my
love her
clients, she's healing individuals of Parkinson's and multiple sclerosis.
Yeah.
Right. We're taking her program, because now she's only working with a small handful. We're taking her program online, and she's going to be global with this online program within 6 months.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Right. So why not you? Dial down the doubt, dial down the thing that the voice that's telling you that you've already done, it's already been done, someone else has done it better. Just dial it down, because I've seen so many people create magic in their business by having the audacity to say, I want to reach a bigger market that's beyond what I can do personally.
Well, I think I love that, Jane. And I think you just hit on a couple of things right there that I know are impediments that I've experienced and a lot of my clients have experienced is like, there's already people talking about speaking, how to deliver well. There's already experts in this field that have been doing it much longer than I am, and they've got this well-known recognition, and there's only this limited market. So, I don't want to take all the time and the expense to do it because it's already saturated.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of a client, Debbie Bright, who I just adore her. She does a weight loss program. So it's 21 days weight loss. She's using a concept of the elimination diet, very, very common in the health and wellness world. And what's so exciting is to watch her see her course come to life, because she's using a process that other health and wellness experts are using. But what's making her program so incredibly different is the way that she understands what's happening for the client psychologically behind, because now she understands curriculum design. She understands that at this stage, I need to address this fear and this belief. Right. And then there's the user experience. I mean, even to the point we have tools for actually, it's called Health Tracker, where in that particular realm, like we have people like actually we're able to have them track online weight and measurements and able to acknowledge them when they're making progress in a certain area. So yes, other people may be playing in the world that you're playing, but most likely they don't have the understanding of curriculum. They don't have an online experience that brings your content to life. So that's how you differentiate yourself, is to raise the bar and be the person in your industry that's delivering a course that nobody else in your industry is delivering.
Great. I love that. So if you do that, how much time does it take to kind of put something like this together realistically?
Yeah. Okay, so here's you're going to get the real Jane. Like I've been a business coach. I've built 7 businesses, 32 years. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the one who tells you, oh, you can come for a weekend. Like, yeah, we can bang out your overall map of your module in throughout that course in a couple calls. But I abhor what's happening in the industry right now, where everybody's trying to make everything fast and easy. And we can make it simple. That's what we do. We make it simple. We take all the technology off. We give you the framework that you need for your course and give you as many templates as possible. But you know what? If you're creating something that will be a cornerstone of your success going forward, I today am still paid for royalties on a course that I created, Cynthia, in 1987.
Right. And I think that's a big distinguishing element there. It's like so much of the time, if I look back, on the hundreds of thousands of dollars, that I've spent over the years on my education and always thinking this next one, that's the one that's going to save me. That's the one that's going to make everything different. That's the one that's going to, I have spent a lot of time on things that did not generate a recurring income for me, and that did not completely help me codify who I am in the world. So I think it sounds to me like the time is an investment with a very high rate of return.
Absolutely. I mean, we have some clients who come in and their whole goal is for the first year to develop this program and just simply take 4 or 5 groups through 12 each throughout the first year. They have no intention of going out with a humongous launch. But okay, if you think about it, the way we work it, that's about for pretty much any content, it's anywhere between say 25,000 and 40,000 per group, the way we structure this. So I don't know, but for a lot of people who are probably watching this, to imagine, let's say you did a quarterly launch of just a simple program to 12 people, but it was anywhere between $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 per group. I don't know. That's probably more than most people are making.
Right.
You're building an asset and you're perfecting this asset that once you feel confident. We've got some people said, I'm going to do it for a year. And after 6 months, they were like, oh man, I got this. We're going to go out big time. We're going to have 50 people in the course versus 12. So, just think about that. It's having built so many businesses, we've sold 3 of the businesses that we've built. And I will say that a strong foundation is the most important thing. And part of your foundation, no matter where you are, what you're teaching, part of your foundation is to get really clear on how you deliver on your promise and to be able to put it into an infrastructure that you can scale.
I love that, to scale and to iterate consistently too. Like,
Yeah.
in order to consistently get those results, instead of like, I'm just intuiting, I'm very intuitive and I'm just going to go with the flow. It's like, oh, that's awesome. And it's also awesome to have a process, and then to have that process, be codified the way you're talking about, so that it's replicatable.
Yeah. So the interesting thing, so people talk about, I'm very intuitive, but what I've always found is once we unpack their intuition, there is a process there.
Yes.
And what I'd like to say to people who are more right brain creative and want to keep it kind of intuitive, what I will say is your client will make the experience of your process unique to them.
Right.
Their own intuition. So you don't have to worry about it. Your process is not going to be the same for everybody. It's not rote, it's not cookie cutter. As long as you give them the path to walk on, they're going to experience that the way they need to experience it.
Yes, exactly. Well, this is all fascinating. So, Jamie, what is one actionable thing that our listeners can do right now? I want you to tell us a little bit about the gift that you have, and what is the first thing, one actionable step that they can start to leverage the strategies you're talking about?
I love this question. It's my favorite questions. So for those of you who are working with clients, I want you to trust that there's a process that you're using and you may not even recognize it. So my invitation to you is, if you could just pull yourself up in terms of an observer standpoint, take an eagle's eye view of this. You can either do it with a current client that you're working with, or you can take one of your favorite clients that you have worked with. And I want you to think about a 3 to 6 month process with them. Like, what was the evolution of that experience with you? What were the steps you took them through? And so with Harvey Mackay, I think one of my clients, Harvey Mackay, wrote Swim with the Sharks. He couldn't figure it out. And I said, Harvey, what if you had a 1 hour meeting with a new client? Let's say a company said, I want you to teach this young guy how to sell. Mm-hmm. 1 hour meeting with him over a course of 6 weeks. And what would you tell them during that 1 hour? And what would you ask them to do after that 1 hour? And it blew his mind, and it was that simple. If you had a series of 6 sessions with a client, 5 to 6, and you had 1 hour to teach them what you wanted to teach them, to shift those beliefs and shift those behaviors and build those skills, and then you said, okay, now I want you to go out and do this, what would you ask them to do? And then in the next meeting, what would you do? That's very much the nature of what we're looking to do in the course. Yeah, so it's eagle's eye view. Look at what you do. Be conscious that you actually have a process, whether you realize it or not.
Yes, I love that. And I think it's really valuable, even if a course isn't like tomorrow in your future. If you start doing that, I think that you're going to realize that what you're doing actually is a course. So you will ultimately get driven to that, because I think that action is valuable for everyone.
Yeah, and for those who are really new, insert the word program versus course, because course kind of has some stuff around it. So imagine that you're just going to do a group program. That's the invitation. If you're going to do a group program and watch 12 people through that whole process, like that's the process we're looking for.
That's awesome. So I want you to tell us a little bit about the kind gift that you're offering these folks, the Expert's Guide to Profitable Programs. What is that, Jane?
Yeah, so it's really a combination of so many conversations that I have. We talk to people a lot about courses and actually taking their content to a bigger audience. And so what the guide does is sort of walk you through the things that we've learned. So there's the insider secrets that are in there about what you want to think about when you're creating your course, what you want to actually deliver on. But it also addresses some of the big questions and concerns that people have around taking their content online. Right. In there, there's some processes in there. We share with you our 5-step process that, even no matter whether we end up having a chance to connect or not, it's going to help you see if you're wanting to move towards more leverage. Within that guide, it gives you the roadmap for you to be able to do that. So to me, leverage is king. That's, we all went into this business, whatever business you're in. You went in with the idea, I want more leverage, I want more freedom, I want to make more money. And you can spin your wheels with a lot of different strategies, but if you don't have a signature program that you can really monetize and scale, you're going to continue to be trapped in the one-to-one selling your time for money model, and I don't want that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, it really gets down to most of the people that are watching this are mission driven and heart centered and purpose focused. So if you
Mm,
can work with one to one, that's awesome, because then, you do get a ripple effect. If you can work one to a group, even better, because then you're starting to leverage. But the capital L leverage comes when you can do something like a course. So I love that you're doing that. And I know for speakers too, that helps so much to have a scalable product that you can offer people, so that it's just not that single encounter that you have in that speaking engagement. It's how you work with them later on. And as you said, that's where you get the transformation.
right.
It's not in that talk, or even, as you mentioned, on the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And by the way, it's scalable. You don't have to lug it around in your suitcase. I sold books when I spoke a lot of years. There's nothing worse. Yeah. So no, it's an easy back of the room sale. We teach our clients how to actually sell the course from the stage. It's super fun to be able to invite people into an experience with you, let to walk them through the journey that you sort of alluded to on stage. So yeah, for speaking,
Nice.
awesome.
Well, Jane, I'd love, and this is impromptu, I'd love for you to share with us a client that is like we are, purpose driven, that you took from being in those early stages, and then the impact
Yeah,
that they're making now and how that changed people's lives.
that's fun. Okay. I like out of the box. It's like if you're, in relationship, health and wellness, business growth, like that's kind of common, right? I like taking I'll share with you Erica Bowling. So Erica came to me. She was a tenured professor at Rutgers University. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. So highly educated, great job, lots of perks, the kind of job that a lot of people want. And she was miserable. And she came
Mm,
and said, my passion is canine fitness. I love helping dog owners make sure that their dogs are healthy and fit, and especially as they're competing. And so she came to me, and I remember she said yes to our program. And she was so scared. She called me on the way to some dog competition. I remember she was so worried because she had the money in her bank account to literally, her business account to pay for this workshop. Fast forward or forward about 3 years. So Erica now has a thriving business. She let's see, I think the last time she reported to me, so she's left Rutgers. So she was able to leave her job at Rutgers. She now has exceeded her Rutgers salary plus all the benefits. She calculated what that is. She spends her days working with dog owners. She has an online program. She's a certification program. And now what's really exciting for me, her whole mission was to eventually move into the police force and the whole security dog realm. She just closed a deal where she's the #1 expert in that particular realm. I mean, she just every goal that she had in her, actually it was a wish that she had in her heart, she's now realizing. She's a sought after expert in that field, in that very small niche. And it all came because she had the audacity to say, I'm just going to do the first step and take the first step, take the first course. And what she did was, it's basically canine fitness 101.
mm,
First course out of the gate, it was like how to make sure your dog is healthy, especially if you're doing kind of competition kind of stuff. And for me, I don't know, Cynthia, hopefully that gives you a glimpse that
yes.
it was just one person saying, in my spare time here, I'm going to trust that I know something that other people need to know. And she delivers it with such heart and passion that it lands on people. And the rest is history. Girlfriend's going to, she's moving into the 7-figure mark probably this next year.
Yeah, that is awesome. And wow, what a little niche that you wouldn't even think of. Or the dressage, or like Dr.
Yeah,
Walls, like, treating this very
yeah.
specific condition. So I love that. So really, you know, everybody should be doing a course. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to click the little button below and get the incredible offer that Jane is giving you, the experts guides to profitable programs. That's going to help you with that arc and get you thinking in that direction. So Jane, I always love talking with you, but this
I
has been
love
really
you.
valuable. So, one of the things that you talked about was in your transformation, how you realized it needed to be easier, and you also needed to be able to scale it so that people had the repetition to get that transformation. And so
Yeah.
that's what you've created. And so I love that. It came out of your own
Yay.
experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just a little FIF to those of you who are grabbing the guide. One of the things we're a big proponent on is making sure that we're serving you about where you are. And so in the process of getting the guide, we're also going to ask you to take an assessment. And the assessment takes you like 4 minutes. That tells us where you are in the process, because what we do in the next step depends on where you are. So if you're super early stage, those next steps that we offer for you, the next valuable content we provide is based on where you are. So make sure you take the assessment. It helps us profile where you are so we can really meet you where you are in the process and make sure that the next way we can serve you is really aligned with where you are in the process.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your generosity and for the genius that you're bringing into the world. Because I know Dr. Walls. I've met her. I am such a proponent of the work that she does. And people like that have the opportunity to go out and affect millions of people around the world and change their life. So love what you're doing. Thank you for being on the show. I hope that we've opened up some thought processes for folks, and that they really take you up on that offer. So just click that little button right below and join Jane and find out more. So taming that technology dragon.
Yay, I love it. Thanks, Cynthia. I appreciate it.
Welcome. Bye.
Take care.